Hello, I am Paul Oswald, and I'm going to inform you about the history of basketball. According to U.S. News, basketball is the most commonly played sport in high schools around the U.S., and around 18,000 high schools have a men's basketball team, while around 16,000 high schools have a women's basketball team. And the NCAA made a reported $1 billion from TV ad revenue from the 2013 March Madness basketball tournament. Basketball was invented in 1891 by Dr. James Naismith in Springfield, Massachusetts. Naismith invented the game because he needed a game that kids could play during the wintertime in the Northeast. The very first basketball games were played with a peach basket nailed 10 foot high and played with a ball about the size of a modern-day volleyball. Backboards were first introduced about 2 years after the game was invented because of fan interference. In 1896, the first pro games were played, but it was very concentrated in the Northeast because of game officials. Naismith soon moved to the University of Kansas and became a coach there, where he died later. In 1936, basketball became an Olympic sport and has been one ever since then. In 1949, the NBA was formed, and that is what is today. That is the National Basketball Association, and that is the Pro League today. In 1980, the NBA introduced the three-point line, which was a very controversial topic at the time. The three-point line was 23 foot 9 inches around from the corners all the way to the top. That if a player was to shoot from behind that, they would be given 3 points instead of 2 points, like it was before then. And in 1987, the three-point line was introduced to the college league. In 1992, the pros were allowed to play in the Olympics. This came after, in 1988, the U.S. had lost to Soviet Russia, which was a controversial deal at the time because of the Cold War that was going on. In 1992, the U.S. sent their best players over to play in the Olympics in Barcelona, and the U.S. dominated everybody, winning their closest margin of victory was of 36 points was their closest game. In 1997, the WNBA was introduced, and that allowed women to also have a professional league in a pro ranks after college. And in 2005, the NBA put an age limit on how old you could be to come into the league. Before the age limit only allows 19-year-olds to come in, so you had to be a year graduated from high school to come in. Before this, there was people coming in at 17 and 18 right out of high school coming into the pros. Kobe Bryant is a great example because he came in at the age of 17 and had to have his parents' signature to sign his contract to go to the Los Angeles Lakers. So basketball has developed very much over time. So let's recap what we learned today. We learned that basketball was invented in 1891 by Dr. James Naismith, who later coached at the University of Kansas until his death. 1896 were the first pro games, and in 1936, basketball became an Olympic sport. In 1980, the NBA introduced the three-point line. In 1987, the college introduced the three-point line. And in 1992, the pros were allowed to play in the Olympics, and that has been going on ever since. In 1997, which is very recent, the WNBA was formed, which is a pro league for women, right after they get out of college. And in 2005, the 19-year-old age limit was put on. Thank you for listening. I hope you learned something.